Good evening and welcome to the first edition of Cooking with Skinny Vinney. The purpose of our show is that we want to be able to show you how you can make some very nice dinners that'll surprise you in minimal amount of time. And we know how busy people could be. So it's better than eating out quite a bit, and also you can save yourself quite a bit of money. So the first meal we're going to show you here, not surprisingly, is going to be a special Valentine's Day dinner. And for our dinner, we are going to make actually a steak and lobsters. And now to begin with, how we're going to do this, the first thing we need to do is to prep our food. And now we're going to start with the steak, and usually a nice New York strip steak, about an inch to an inch and a quarter to an inch and a half thick, is a nice piece of meat. And what you want to do is let it get to room temperature. This will allow for the juices in it to cook through right, and also for the seasoning to take. So as far as seasoning is concerned, most people just like a little bit of salt and pepper on top. We can do that. Now, just a touch. Don't have to put a lot into it. Put a little pepper on there. Okay. Now, if you like any kind of additional seasoning, it's up to you. I myself like a little bit of grill-made steak rub. So we could just put a little bit of that on there. Rub it in a little bit. Okay. Yeah. Okay, a little bit more, a little pinch. Okay. So it'll be something like this. Okay. Now, the next step, what we're going to do is to prep for our lobster. Now, we're going to put this aside just for a moment, and we're going to show you the right way to do it. Not hard at all. Now, what you're going to do is take your lobster, and you're going to know that there are going to be ribs right up to the front. Now, what you're going to do is actually take a pair of scissors, real simple like, and just cut the middle of the ribs, no problem. And then what you're going to do is actually take the sides and gently crack back the lobster so it loosens the meat. Okay? And then once you've done that, you're simply going to gently roll this out from here. You're going to take it out of the shell gently. You don't want to break it, so no rush. Okay. Okay. And that's how it's done. Okay, so you got a nice piece of lobster that's like that. And then what you're really going to do is just place it right back on top of the shell with the round side up. And kind of tuck that tail back in there. And this is basically what it's going to look like. Okay. Now, as far as cooking that, all you're going to do is you'll be able to put some butter on it. If you want to put some seasoning on it, it's fine. And then what you're going to do is put it in the oven, and then broil it until the meat of it looks like a white fish, so to speak. You don't want it to have any of that gel look. So in essence, what that is going to eventually look like is something like this. Okay. And you can baste it with some butter, and then within about 10 minutes, you'll have something that perfectly cook like that. Okay. Now we're going to put this aside. We'll put this aside here. Now we've already tenderized we already seasoned our meat and everything. Now what we're going to do is to prepare it. So what we're going to do is to come over here to the stove. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to actually sear our meat. How do we know that we got the right temperature of our pan? What we're going to do is use a cast iron skillet. Okay, and as you can see, this one has the ridges in it. Okay, if you have a flat one, that does the same. It just makes for nice, pretty marks on the outside of things. So what you're going to do is actually set your temperature to about medium high, and then what you're going to do is add butter, a couple teaspoons of butter, and okay, And what you're going to be able to see is the butter is actually going to melt, and you want to cover the pan real well, okay? And we're going to make sure the whole pan is covered nice, okay? Now remember, this is going to be a little hot, so you always make sure you have protection with your mitts and things of that nature. And you know, you can actually take this and rock it back and forth so it's nice and even, okay? Okay, now, when you're cooking with butter, obviously you're going to have a little bit of smoke coming out, but don't worry about that. It's just the temperature of the butter that's cooking at, and you're not burning your house down on fire. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take our meat, and what we're going to do is sear this in the pan. And so we're going to put our 2 pieces in here. Okay. And we're going to let this pan fry till we get this to the outside look of what we want it to do. Okay, so we're going to give that a second here. We'll put this dish away. Now, part of our meal tonight is what we're going to have is we are going to cook asparagus with it as well. So, basically, the asparagus is going to be the longest part of your dinner, but it's actually very easy. So, obviously, what you want to do, you buy fresh asparagus such as this, and then all you got to do is you'll see the asparagus, and what you want to do is just cut to the part of where the white ends and the green starts, and then you'll put it in a pan such as this. Okay, you'll put it in a pan such as this. You'll put water in it and just kind of let it boil in a simmer. Okay, for about 20 minutes. So we've already got this done to save time, but that's going to be the longest part of what you are going to want to do. Now, also, while that's cooking, if you want to do something a little more, you could chop up a little bit of white onion here, or yellow onion, put it in a pan, just so you could have, just like that. It won't take long, about a minute or so. Then you can turn it down on low, and you can have some sauteed onions. You know, if you like mushrooms as well, you could do the same with that. Okay. Now what we're going to do, again, we're going to let that cook. So we're going to come back to the table here. Okay. Now, while that's working, and you're going to have a little conversation with your better half, we're your favorite person. So what you might want to do, you can put out a little bit of antipasta here. The choice is all yours. A little bit of grapes, and we got some, little oranges, some cheeses and crackers, and prosciutto with cream cheese in it. Now the cheese is up to you, but what we decided to have is we just wanted to have, fontanella cheese. Actually, since I'm Italian, favorite of the families. You can get it in any deli at your grocery store. It's a kind of a semi-hard blend, a little bit of a tangy flavor for it. So it does go well with the prosciutto and everything. So you can start there, okay? And if you like, you can start off with a little glass of vino, okay? And sit back, take your time, and enjoy yourself as well. Now, the other small things you can do is you can actually buy some pre-cooked shrimp, such as this. Okay, maybe get a dozen. They go by the count anyway. Just something in addition to the appetizer. It's very simple to make. All you do is you take a little bit of washed lettuce, put it at the end of a glass like that. Or if you don't want to get any more fancy than this, you really don't have to go this far. But since it's Valentine's Day, so anyway, what you want to do is just a little bit like that. You take your cocktail sauce and just spoon it in the middle, like so. Okay, like so. And then you could take your shrimp cocktails. A little bit of fancy on the glass here. Okay. And you can enjoy those as well. Now, of course, you know, you can get them in any sizes that you would like. You know, how many you want. It's, like I said, it's just you and your better half. So, the other thing now is what you might want to do is take a look at maybe what you might want to do is to have a little bit of olive oil and spice along to go with a little dipping bread. So what I like is the you know, extra virgin olive oil. Has a nice taste to it. You know, there's a lot of different brands out there. So what you will do is take olive oil, pour it in a dish like that. You can be generous as much as you want, and close that up. And then what you'll do is actually get some Italian seasoning mix. And what you'll do, basically, you just put it in, you know, just sprinkle it in there enough. Sprinkle it in there enough to your taste. Okay, mix it up. That's not enough. Put some more in there. Again, to your taste as well. Okay, and then you can have a little bit of appetizer. Mix that, or obviously you can have that with your bread as well. Now, what we're going to do is come back and take a look at our steak here. So if we'll come back here. Now, and what we're going to do is, as I said, one of the things that we're looking at that we want to do, a couple of things about cooking the steak. Understand that it's the juices that are inside the steak that are going to cook it. Now, what we're going to do is, as I said, we're going to sear the steak. You want it to sear to the color of the outside that you want, okay, and then flip it. But the last thing you want to start doing is cooking it long enough to where you see the juices come all the way to the top. They have to stay in the middle for it to actually work. Now, what you can do is, as you can see with this is starting to cook well, okay? And you can actually, might want to turn it just a little bit. You can hear that going. Turn it sideways. We're going to turn that up just, we had it down we want to sear that, so we want to go to medium high there. So now that we have our steak going, okay, our steak is still going, we're going to let this cook a little bit longer, then we're going to toss it back in. Okay, now, one of the things you might want to do as well is that, obviously, no dinner is going to be complete. Well, before we get to that, now what we've actually done here is we've actually made some little side of potatoes, if you like. And what we've done is, we found some real nice special potatoes, and what they are is just little miniature ones. And as you can see, there's nothing wrong with your screen or anything, but these potatoes are actually that color. These are actually a little bit sweeter, and all you're going to do, again, you could pre-boil these potatoes for a little bit of time and put this on for you know, a little bit of salt and pepper as you do this, and you know, so you have an extra little side dish that goes with that. So basically, all we're going to do is wait now for the steak to cook. We'll have those ready to go. And I'm going to check on the steak a little bit. It is starting to get a little darker now. We're going to let it go. Now, as it's cooking, one of the things is I wanted to show you is we have a meter here, obviously. Now, once we get that cooked and we want to see it, what we're going to do is use a device like this. And actually, all it is temperature probe. This one, this looks like there's nothing really that special about it. It's just battery charged. And what's great about this is that when we put our meat into the oven to cook internally, we can actually have this hanging outside the stove, and with the probe in there. Now, what we're going to want to do, of course, is we are going to want to see our meat for the inside temperature, depending upon how you like it, whether it's rare, medium rare, and so forth, well done. You want the internal temperature to be somewhere just less of 140 degrees up to 150. Of course, you'll have to judge and see. Now, you can use a regular meat thermometer that you just open up and plug it in and so forth. But the advantage of this is that you'll be able to read the temperature immediately, as it's cooking, rather than going in and out. Rather than opening the door in and out and things like that. Letting heat out and so forth. So it's nice to have, but it's not essential and everything. Okay, so we'll have that. Now, what I'm going to do here, and now you'll see it's starting to probably smoke up a little bit here. Don't worry about that too much, because we're just going to turn this down just a little bit. Okay, now you can see the meat, how I have it here. I'm going to turn it over. The meat is not burning, it's just searing, okay? Now you can see how it looks. Now you can take it out a little bit later, or you can leave it in a little longer. But like I said, because I had the pan with the sear marks on it, just makes it for a little bit more presentable. And then what we'll do is we'll let this cook a little bit, and then what we're going to do is as soon as it cooks, and what we're going to do, see it's already starting to go there, then we're going to actually take this and we're going to put it in the oven. That way it's going to cook from the inside. Now, also notice again, I'm not letting any of the juices come to the very top, okay? Don't worry about the smoke. It's just, the cooking temperature of the butter, of how far it goes with things. So, now, we've already preheated our oven. It is on now what you're going to do is set it to about 400 to 425. We can actually turn that up a little bit, okay? So, now what we're going to do at this point, we are going to take our probe and put it in one of the steaks, about halfway in. Okay. Now you can see on the bottom left hand of this, the temperature is starting to go up. We'll take an initial reading on what it is for the center. So it's slowly climbing to about 100 or so. So we know that it's not going to be quite where it needs to be. Okay, so what we're going to do, again, we're going to take our oven mitt, of course. Okay, yeah, right now it's at about 101, 102 or so. Okay. And then what we're going to do, in our preheated oven, pan and everything, we're going to put this in here, in the oven. Don't worry about, if you get one of these, you don't have to worry about the cord or anything like that. It's made for a lot of, there we go, a little, okay, make sure we're not burning our onions here. We're good with that. We're going to turn off the top of our stove. We don't want to burn down our house any other way. So, okay, so we're on our way with that. We're good, okay? So,